What's going on, Jeff Rager? Another episode of the Daily Ticket. It's from Monday. It's the 13th. It's May 2024. I hope you had a great Mother's Day. I hope your mother had a great Mother's Day. I hope your wife had a fantastic Mother's Day. I hope all the moms out there had a tremendous Mother's Day. I had a great one. I mean, my Mother's Day was awesome. I took my mom, my daughter, my wife, to see Justin Verlander. Must-see JV one last time. Dude's 41 years old. He just got hit up by the New York Yankees. I was thinking to myself, like, go to the game. It could be the last time we see JV. You know, it's weird. Being in your 40s in baseball is kind of having like a car that has 200,000 miles on it. Every time you drive it, you need something replaced. It's falling apart on you. When you're in your 40s in Major League Baseball or any professional sports, odds are every outing could be your last outing. So I went down to the ballpark yesterday with my family, had a great time. It was a beautiful, gorgeous day. And I wanted to see Verlander one more time. Now, a full disclosure, before we get into what happened and how I was feeling and how I don't think you should look down on me for it. But full disclosure, I was a big JV fan when he was in Detroit. Like, why wouldn't you be? He is one of the best pitchers of our generation. He is a top 20 pitcher in the history of Major League Baseball. First ballot, Hall of Famer, no doubt, absolute stud. By the way, yesterday is 101st win at Comerica Park. So, I loved Verlander. Who did? And then he left. Then Al Avila traded him away, and he got Jake Rogers essentially for him. I mean, you got some other guys, but none of those guys are in baseball anymore. You got a big pitching prospects. Remember, I can't even remember the guy's name right now, but he's not in baseball either. At least I don't think he is. It was a bad trade by Al Avila. Like, I get it. Verlander needed to be dealt, I guess, in 2017. But when he was dealt at the very last moment of, I think it was the non-waiver deadline, I'm like, screw this. I'm not going to root for him to win a World Series. Like, fuck that. I am not rooting for Justin Verlander to do in Houston what he could not do here. And, of course, he did. Of course, he won a World Series. And it bummed me out. And then, of course, Stafford did it years later. Like, think about that. We had the second overall pick of Major League Baseball draft, Justin Verlander, going to go down as one of the greatest pitchers ever to toe the rubber. Pitch here for 12, 13 years, go elsewhere, win a World Series. We had Matthew Stafford, first overall pick of the draft. Now, Matthew, of course, not as accomplished as JV by any means. Like, JV won the MVP, he won the Cy Young, he won the Rookie of the Year. JV was an absolute stud, those 2 Game 5s back-to-back years against the Oakland A's. Like, Verlander was amazing. Stafford didn't have any of those accolades in Detroit, but it did blow seeing him go to Los Angeles and winning the Super Bowl. It's happened to us twice, but I vowed off Verlander. I did. When he left Detroit, no fucking way am I cheering for that guy. Why would I? Because if you remember in Detroit, he made 2 World Series, 06 and 12, and he wasn't good in either one of them. The knock on Verlander when he was a Tiger, the bigger games, like whether it be the All-Star game where he got lit up or when Pablo Sandoval took him deep, 17 times in Game 1 of the 2012 World Series. Like, Verlander was not equipped to win those games in Detroit. He just didn't. Now, he was great in the playoffs up to the World Series, but he wasn't good in the World Series. And then, of course, he went to Houston, and he won a World Series. So I was salty. I wasn't going to root for the guy. And then, of course, he's come back numerous times, and the Tigers have been so fucking dreadful that all you did was go talk to Verlander. And he talked about Detroit and how much he liked Detroit and his great memories. I think last year I asked him if he's going to go into the Hall of Fame as an Astro or a Tiger, and he didn't answer the question, kind of laughed it off. It was a very good response by him. But for the longest time, it was just like, hey, let's go talk to Verlander, because it's not like we want to talk to any Detroit Tigers because all the Tigers stink. But this year was different. This year, yesterday, on Mother's Day, coming off a bad start, I thought, I got to go see JV one more time. My mother, huge Verlander fan. Let's go see Verlander. So packed up the whole family, went down to Comerica Park. It was a gorgeous day at the ballpark. The Tigers get the shit kicked out of them. They end up losing 9-3. And Verlander was outstanding. Now, I don't know if you want to give all the credit to Verlander, maybe give some of the credit to the Tigers lineup being absolutely pathetic. But Verlander, 7 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, 95 pitches, 61 were strikes. At one point, he was 9 of 15, I want to say, on first pitch strikes. And he dominated Detroit. And it's a weird thing because he took a perfect game through 4 innings. Verlander was unhittable. First 9 batters, he struck out 5 Tigers. And me, a guy that at one point hated JV because I was jealous he was no longer here and went to win a World Series in Houston, I found myself having these weird feelings. I was rooting my ass off for Verlander. Now, I didn't really show it around my family or the people we were sitting around, but I wanted Verlander to no-hit the Tigers. I did. When he was throwing a perfect game through 4 innings, I was borderline giddy. I don't think that makes me a bad person. And I used to be a huge fan of Verlander. I'm usually way too jaded to cheer for anybody anymore. I just kind of want my teams to win, but it was the weirdest thing. I wanted Verlander to dominate Detroit, which he did. And I didn't feel bad about it, at all. And I wanted him to come back in the 8th inning as well. Verlander came back in the 7th inning. He had 84 pitches. And the inning before, he had walked 2 guys. He also hit a guy, loaded the bases with 2 outs, and of course, he got out of it. Verlander was exceptionally great yesterday. He was must-see JV all over again, and it bummed me out. And at the same time, I was rooting for him. And I dug a little deep in my thoughts and my brain, and I asked myself, why am I rooting for Justin Verlander? And I think I realized why. It's not even so much about JV as it is about the Tigers. This offense stinks, as you know. Now, I know they put up 8 runs against Christian Javier on Saturday, who was just off the DL and was throwing meatball after meatball down the middle. It was cool to see Mark Canha hit a grand slam and Kerry Bonds hit 2 homers as well. But as you know, the offense doesn't last, because just as they lost on Friday 5-2, 2 runs, they lose yesterday. It might as well be 9-0, but it was 9-3. The reason I was cheering for Verlander was because the Tigers suck and the offense is dreadful. And I kind of feel like they deserve to be dominated. It's pretty fucked up in my head, isn't it? It's pretty screwed up. But that's why I was cheering for JV, and I wasn't alone. I was looking around the ballpark as JV was dominating the Tigers and sitting down Tiger after Tiger, and there were other people like me. There were other people like me cheering for Verlander, a little fist bump here, a little clap there. You could sense a big game, must-see JV electricity in the air. I don't think I'm wrong about this. I would say, I have no idea the percentage, but I would say hundreds, if not thousands of fans in the house rooting for JV. It felt like that Pirates game on a Friday night where JV took a no-hitter into the 9th inning. Or maybe that Milwaukee game during a weekday when JV no-hit the Milwaukee Brewers. Or maybe that game in Toronto when he did the same thing to the Blue Jays. Man, I miss this guy. And he was outstanding yesterday. And I gotta believe it meant the world to him as well. Yesterday was one of the few days that I really wish I could have gone and interviewed him. I'm going to play you some JV audio. He wasn't really asked about taking on the Tigers again. And again, he's already beat the Tigers, and he's actually lost to the Tigers since being an Astro and being a Met and everything else. But there was something different about yesterday. Something different because this was the first Tigers team that was thought to be better since Verlander has left back in 2017. Think about that. The fact that he's still pitching at age 41 is insane. But that's the other thing, too. Like, I'm a fan of old guys. I'm a fan of the old folk. I'm a 48-year-old man myself. So to see Verlander still kicking it at age 41, you get some nostalgia kicking. You really do. You start to think back to the good times when Verlander was in the old English D, hanging out with Kate Upton in Birmingham. Oh, those were the days. Those were the days. So yesterday, Verlander dominated. I'm curious if anybody felt like me, rooting for him instead of rooting for the team. Verlander finished the day, 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, 95 pitches. And I actually tweeted out how I was feeling. Like, first, I must say, I tweeted a picture of my mother and I. Here's the picture. If you can see that. My mom and I and my daughter and my wife had a great time at the ball game. We had a great time, but my mom is a huge Tigers fan, and she was a big JV fan, and she was giddy just to be there. But the other thing I tweeted out was the following. Verlander done. 7 innings, 2 hits, 0 runs, 8 strikeouts, 2 walks. 95 pitches at age 41. An all-time great owning his former team. And I'll admit it, I was rooting for him. So was my mom. So I'm looking at the remarks from various people. And Jim Costa, who does our morning show, Cookies, I love Cookies. He tweeted the following to my tweet. Rooting for JV today is so toxic. And he gave me the old Scully. Look at that. Can you guys see that? I don't know. If you're watching on YouTube, you might be able to see that. I'm trying to, you see the skull there? Okay, yeah. And it's interesting because a lot of people agree with me. I think a lot of the people were rooting for JV too. First of all, it's 1-162. That's number one. One baseball game is no big deal. It's not like you're rooting for Stafford in the playoff game, right? Number two, the Tigers likely are going to stink. And there's some anger, at least from me and the fan base, that this offense is so bad. So I kind of wanted the front office to feel it by JV just shoving it to him. I did. I'm a spiteful bastard, I guess. And I do think a lot of people were feeling the same thing. Here's the other thing. People love Verlander. People absolutely adore Verlander. So I do think a lot of people were cheering for him. Now, when it was a 0-0 game in the 4th inning and JV had a perfect game, were they cheering as much as I was for Verlander? I don't know that answer. I want you to hit me up in the comment section if you'd be so kind. But I did mention I have some Verlander audio I wanted to play for you. So he was asked by his hometown TV station. I don't know what they're called. But he went on TV, and I didn't realize this at the time, but Verlander, with the 8 strikeouts yesterday, is so close to surpassing Max Scherzer, another former Tiger, like sweet, for the 11th most strikeouts in the game. He's almost at top 10, and by the time it's all said and done for JV, he will be top 10. Like Greg Maddux has the 10th most strikeouts, 3,371. Verlander currently is sitting at 3,364. He's 3 behind Max. He's 7 behind Maddux. And then Walter Johnson is number 9 with 3,509. So it's going to take a little bit of time to catch him. But all the players that have played in Major League Baseball, and JV is closing in on top 10 all time. Pretty awesome. He talked about it after the game.
Justin, you're 7 strikeouts away from passing Max and passing Greg Maddux for 10th place all time.
Max not done yet, though.
Well, I'm right. But getting ahead of Max.
Wow. Isn't he going to come back soon? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was fun last year, by the way, battling. Anyway, go ahead.
Have you thought about at all what it's going to mean to be in the top 10 for Major League history in strikeouts?
Not until now. How many?
7 more to pass Maddux.
For top 10? Yeah. And then Max is
11th. You're 12th, Max is 11th, and next.
I don't know, man. This game is it's pretty cool. This game's been around so long. Anytime you can creep in the top 10, jeez. Yeah, that's pretty special. There's been a lot of moments in my career that I probably have too much tunnel vision, and probably don't give the due credit. I think I've really, since my Tommy John, honestly, my 200th win was probably one of those times, one of the first times where I kind of like really took a step back and tried to be really present and take it in. And that was only because, I've told this story before, after Kenny Rogers won his 200th game in Wrigley Field, I remember Todd Jones asking me if I would take that career. I was a rookie at the time, and I said no. And he looked at me like I was an idiot. And after I won my 200th game, I felt like that answer was idiotic. That hard-headedness, helped propel me there. But at the same time, like having seen what went into getting there and how many things have to go your way and how health and it's just so many things that have to be right. That really it took me back to that moment my rookie year. And there's been a few moments along the way since third no-hitter. And this would be one of those things that I think I would really kind of try to take a beat.
You miss that guy? I miss that guy. Talking about 3 no-hitters, talking about being top 10 eventually in strikeouts, the dominance he displayed in Detroit, telling the story about Kenny Rogers getting the 200 victories. Verlander's at like 257, I want to say, so he does have an outside chance of getting the 300. It would take a minor miracle, but still, God damn it. You know what it is? When he was traded along with Max and JD and Upton and Price and Kinsler, all those guys, right? The good players that you had to trade away. When he was traded, I understood it. And you really thought that the rebuild was eventually going to pay some dividends and we'd be back in the postseason and we could forget about Justin Verlander. But the fact that he just tormented the Tigers, and the Tigers, they're a 500 team. At the Sparky Anderson 40-game mark, they're 20-20. You want to celebrate that? I sure the fuck don't. Simply because this team stinks offensively and they waste so many good pitching performances. But man, to think you had that guy as a Tiger and let him walk out the door. And I'm sure at the time I agreed with the trade. It's just a bummer, isn't it? It's just a bummer. There was a little bit of good news, I guess. Spencer Torkelson hit a home run, 2-run dong in the 9th inning when the Tigers had already lost the ball game. That's exciting. No, but good for Tork. Maybe more are coming. He's been really good. He's got like a 7-game hit streak. But he talked about JV as well. Take a listen.
Still got it. He's on his way to Cooperstown for a reason. I thought we had a good plan headed into it, capitalize on mistakes, and realized early on there wasn't going to be very many mistakes to capitalize on. But tip your cap, he beat us, and back to the drawing board.
Yeah, so good for Torque to hit a homer. Hopefully there's more of those. But I'm curious, are you like me? Were you rooting for Justin Verlander? I was. And I was surprised by myself. I didn't go into the game thinking, oh, yeah, come on, JV, let's kick a little ass. But as he dominated, it's a gorgeous day. It's very peaceful, just sitting back watching baseball with my family. As he dominated, I started to root for him. And it's something I didn't think I would do. If that makes me a bad Detroiter, I guess I got to own it. I guess, like Jim Costa said, I guess I got to own it. It is what it is. But I do root against my teams when I need them to get better. Sometimes it takes a reality check. And listen, I don't think Verlander shutting down Detroit's offense, because everybody shuts down Detroit's offense, is going to do anything. But I rooted for him. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Here's the other thing, by the way. Yesterday, it wasn't only the Tigers losing another series on Mother's Day to a team that was well under 500, the Astros, but it was also the Pistons getting fucked. Did you see the lottery? Oh, that's right. It's weird. Since when is the lottery on a Sunday? On Mother's Day, no less. But the Pistons, and we all know this draft, there's no, transcendent player. There's no Victor Wembanyama in this draft. There's not even a Cade Cunningham, per se. But the Pistons had the worst season in the NBA. They had the worst season in franchise history. And what pick do they get? They must have got one, right? If not one, they got two, right? If not two, they got three. They got five. The Atlanta Hawks got 1. The Pistons got 5. The Houston Rockets almost made the playoffs. They got like 3. Pistons got 5. The worst possible pick they could have got, they got. So not only are you searching for a president of like basketball operations, and Tom Gores has no idea what he's doing, and apparently like, I don't know, Troy Weaver gets to stick around, and I mean, it's such a colossal disaster, the Pistons are, but now they also got screwed in the lottery. So what a day yesterday. Aren't you sick of these days yet? Anyway, we don't have time for comments. I hope you enjoyed your Mother's Day. We'll catch you tomorrow. We got a special guest tomorrow on the Daily Ticket. Stay tuned. Very special guest. This man, well, he could beat me up. That's all I'll give you. Watch tomorrow on the Daily Ticket for all the details. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed the Mother's Day. Let me know if you were rooting for Verlander. Did it bring back any of those cool memories that we used to get to experience on like a game-by-game basis? And, yeah, the Pistons got screwed too. All right, good times. I'll stop depressing you. Guys, always a pleasure. We'll catch you tomorrow on a Tuesday special edition of the Daily Ticket. Until then, have a great Monday and, yeah, whatever. We'll catch you tomorrow. See ya.